Hey friends, this is Pastor Brian Savage, Senior Pastor at Heritage Church, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sermon. Let's dive in. We've got a lot to look at today. Tim, welcome back.
Hey, good to be here.
It's awesome to have you. Can you believe this is our ninth week, ninth podcast? Can you believe it?
I am amazed. I don't know how it went by so quickly.
I know, it really has gone by quickly. So Tim, man, we're getting into, we're in the home stretch is what I would say.
Yeah.
Including the message I just preached, 5 messages left in the series.
That's correct.
Things are getting very close to the end, the technical end of days.
Yes.
And we're almost to the second coming of Christ, which is really exciting.
I'm waiting for the good part.
I know. It's like, where's the good part? We've got to wait so long. So with that, Tim, I'm not one of those preachers that often starts my message by telling the congregation what the title of my message is, but I obviously do have titles for my messages, just don't really, put them out there that often. This one is Fury from the Beasts, Hope from the Lamb. So there's a lot going on this week, Tim. How about a very quick review, very quick, and we're just going to dive in, okay? So, Tim, today we talked about the first beast that is summoned from the sea. And what we learn is that Satan summons a beast from the sea, and this is the Antichrist. And we even talked about this. Is that symbolic? Is the Antichrist really going to come from the sea? Probably not, but it's probably more symbolic. But then we talked about the 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns, which describes Satan, the dragon. What does all of that mean for end times and the nations that are going to start coming together? They're getting ready for this great battle. We're not there yet, though, right? But Satan is organizing everything. Man, we also even talked about a fatal head wound that the Antichrist will suffer, and what's going on there, and how suddenly it seems like Satan and the Antichrist, it almost is like they're trying to mimic Jesus a little bit, kind of mock him a little bit, right? So that's interesting. We'll get to that more in a minute. Then we learned about a second beast. Another beast is going to be summoned, this one from the earth, and we know this one is the false prophet. Interesting, like what is Satan up to? Well, that actually gets us into the Unholy Trinity. And man, this is some strange stuff. Interesting Satan's tactics here. And then, man, we even talked about in the message today, then a statue of the beast is built near the very end of days, and it comes to life. And what is happening, right? Like crazy stuff. And then the false prophet, he's commanding everyone on earth that you have to worship the statue. Kind of reminds us of 2 weeks ago when I was talking about King Nebuchadnezzar and having people worship his own image in a statue. And praise be to God, though, after all of that, we do get a little bit of snapshot of hope from Jesus. And we get some more information about the 144,000 and how God will protect them. We learn more about their description in the end of days of how that 144,000 remains devoted to God. They remain obedient to God, that they have the highest of integrity and unimpeachable character throughout the tribulation. And that's such a needed sign of hope when all, literally, hell is breaking loose on earth. So, Tim, we've got a lot to look at today. I am so grateful for your wisdom in these areas. I think one of the most striking things that we talked about in the message today is this unholy Trinity.
Yeah.
Can we start there?
Yeah.
So, Tim, what are your thoughts? Talk to us a little bit about this unholy Trinity.
Yeah. Well, just like you said, it's Satan, Antichrist, false prophet, and they're copycats, all of them. They're all mimicking Jesus and the Holy Trinity. They're trying to mimic all of that. Some things I think, they're going to be given the ability to exercise authority over the earth for 42 months. And it's not going to be pretty.
It's theirs. It's theirs to
yes,
do
it is.
what they want to do with it.
I believe they will support everything evil. Just think about that. You have full control to do whatever you want. I could see them creating a brand new 10 Commandments that would be completely evil, probably completely opposite. Or they're going to maybe invent a new constitution that would be for the worldwide government that would just be evil. They're going to have the ability to deceive people. So they're going to deceive a lot of people with their lies. Um, they're going to slander God. They're going to say absolutely disgusting things about God, very blasphemous kinds of language about Him. Um, they're going to be given power to make war against the saints, the believers in Christ. So it will be a really difficult time. They're going to have the ability to perform miraculous miracles.
Which further deceives people
It does.
into thinking, oh, well, maybe this is the God we should worship. Mm-hmm.
Look what they can do. That they're going to be able to call down fire from the sky. Now, what's interesting is it going to be a super like a satellite that has the ability to do that? Or will it be demonic in nature and they just can create some demonic kinds of looking miracles? It could be either one, who knows? But they will eventually claim to be God.
Yep. That's right.
And they will then eventually, they will demand everyone on earth to worship them. And there'll be we're going to talk about it, but there'll be some very significant consequences for those who do not.
Yeah. I wonder if this would be a good time to just say this, Tim. So tell me what your thought is on this, going off script a little bit, but Satan clearly has power. God has given him power. And we would want to say there's supernatural power there that Satan has. He's not all powerful, and he's not more powerful than God, and he only has the power that God has allowed him to have. But I think we can go back and there's many stories that we could look at throughout Scripture that, I mean, while everything you just said it's a little mind-blowing that he has this kind of power to perform these miracles, but they're done through the context of evil, right? But he can have fire falling from the sky. So he's given power. It reminds me, Tim, of if you go all the way back to the book of Exodus, when Moses is standing before Pharaoh. And I've always thought, I remember as a kid reading this story and it dawning on me, wow, Satan has some power too. That's interesting. Because you remember when, do you remember the whole, the staff and Pharaoh, who is, and we could probably debate on this, was he demonically controlled by Satan? Not sure, but he calls his attendants forward and they throw their rods down and they turn into snakes. So that's interesting. So Satan has that kind of power, or God allows him to have that kind of power. So really it's just a reminder, a good reminder that yes, Satan is a spiritual being that has a lot of power. It will never be greater than God's. He can never outsmart God with his power, but he is able to perform evil miracles. He's able to deceive people with, almost said parlor tricks, but I mean, throwing a rod down and turning into a snake. Well, that's pretty powerful, right? So it's just a good reminder, I think, when we set the scene here in this part of Revelation that Satan's pretty powerful.
We can look at places where, like, an angel, just flew over a battlefield,
Mm-hmm.
and they all died.
Yes.
And so we know that there's power that these supernatural, spiritual realm beings have.
Yep.
We're not dealing with humans.
That's right.
So I think if we can remember that, these we're dealing with supernaturally infused beings.
Yep.
The Antichrist will be human, but demonically controlled. Yes,
that's right. Would you go as far to say is possessed, demonically possessed?
Most likely.
Yeah, I would think
probably
so.
the false prophet too.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I'm sorry when I said a little bit ago, two of these are are humans, but
Yep.
they're supernaturally infused with power
Yes.
from Satan.
Hmm.
And Satan has, he's a fallen angel that's going to have more abilities to do things
That's right.
that you and I are maybe never seen before.
That's exactly right. That's right. Tim, let's transition into, we got into some interesting things today with the Antichrist specifically, that at this point in the tribulation, as we're nearing the end, something's going to happen, and the Antichrist, it says, is actually going to suffer a fatal wound to the head.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
It's interesting. I think John has some inside information that he he kind of discreetly passes it on to us. But he says it this way: the Antichrist seemed to have a fatal head wound. Okay, I think in that one word there's some significant. How do I say it? There's information in that we probably should know, that leads me to believe that he will receive a head wound, and everybody in the world will see it. And everybody will think that he's dead, and everybody will think that he's risen back to life. But that word "seemed" makes me believe that it's trickery, or it's some kind of demonic manipulation, or even technology, something that they do. In a hologram or something that we don't even
Yeah,
understand.
little green screen action, little
Yes.
Hollywood makeup.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm.
I just really doubt that he really dies and really comes back to life.
Right.
But interesting, we said that they're copycats.
Right.
That's what they're trying to mimic.
Yeah, they're trying to mimic Christ's death, right? And they're
Yep.
trying to make everyone who's alive during this period forget about Jesus and say, we have just as much power as him.
Absolutely.
Look, we can die. We can raise from the dead.
Absolutely.
Follow us.
Look what we can do.
And we'll
Yep.
give you everything that you need during this horrible period on earth, right?
And it'll fool the whole world. And I think it's going to be broadcast. It'll probably be broadcast on whatever news channels are left at that time, but it's going to be a place where every eye is going to see it, and they're going to be filled with awe, going, Jesus rose from the dead. But this word "seemed" is that inside information. I think John's going, don't be fooled by this. It's phony baloney.
That's right. That is really good. I've never really processed that of all the words. I mean, he could have said he does have a fatal head wound and he does die, but he doesn't. He just says it seemed that he had a fatal head wound. It's really very interesting. Anything else there, Tim, with the fatal head wound? Anything else you'd want to?
I just would say, I've had this thought in my mind, and this is crazy, off script, nutty, but we don't know when the end times are going to happen. We don't know. We have no clue.
It could be 1,000 years from now.
It could be.
Yeah.
But if it's not, if it's sometime in the next 50 to 100, maybe somebody will see some of these podcasts and messages that you've been preaching, and it just makes me wonder if you're seeing this and you are in the end, when you see that person come back to life, know that it is not real. Know that it's part of a plan to deceive you.
It's a complete mockery.
It is.
Yep. It's a trick of sorts
That's right.
to make you believe that this is a person to worship.
Yep.
Interesting. Tim, okay, so at this point in the tribulation, it looks like all restraints have been removed from the Antichrist. Does he get the power to make war against the saints and to conquer them?
Yes, he does.
That's hard to understand, isn't it?
It's so hard to understand. I don't even know how to go there with that. It is what it is. Those who are killed by him, if we can always remember, it's not eternal. I mean, they're going to die, and they're going to be instantly caught up into heaven, where they will receive their glorified bodies and all of that. So if we can remember that their death is, as soon as it's over, they're with God. I think we just have to stay focused on that part as we look at all the things that are going to happen. Yes, they're going to die. They're going to be in prison. They're going to be they're going to be killed in multitudes of ways. But the moment they die, they're with Jesus forever. And all of this nonsense is done. They never have to face it again. They never have to go through it again. But for that time,
But Tim, what I would just say, and I know that it's a hard concept for people to understand, and some people might be thinking, why would God allow that? But can we just pause for a moment? Because I know we're so entrenched in Revelation. Revelation, this already happens today. I mean, it already there's really nothing different happening. Evil kills people all the time today. Satan's already doing this, just not to this extent. Think about all of the people over the years, Christians who worshiped God. They were burned at the stake. I mean, it's horrible, but what was it? Just about a month or two ago, in the news, 2 missionaries from Haiti, young people, early 20s, murdered. That's evil that's happening. That's Satan. It's demons. So, yes, this is really difficult to understand. But there's also nothing new here.
no, Brian, there are countries right now where Christians are being slaughtered.
Absolutely.
They just are.
That's right.
And other religions are coming in
Yeah.
and just dominating them, killing
Right.
them, burning their churches, killing their
Right.
pastors.
Right.
It's happening, and it's happening in an increasing rate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure.
But as we go back to Revelation here, it's interesting though. If we can just back up to the first 3.5 years,
Yeah.
we've got the 2 witnesses
Mhm.
that are every day
Yeah. Yep.
speaking to the world,
That's right. Sharing the gospel.
sharing the gospel. We have the 144,000
Yes.
who are sharing the gospel.
Yes.
We're going to see so many people coming to Christ in that 3.5 year period of time.
And they'll be sharing the gospel
They
too.
will be sharing it too, because they're going to see the light. They're going to be,
That's right.
oh my goodness, I see that. Now I need to tell my family and friends before it's too late for
That's
them.
right.
And so just understanding the wave of evangelism and salvations that's going to occur in the first 3.5 years, while all that's happening, you got to know that Satan is raging inside, angry, furious that these are ones that he's not going to be able to convert over to the dark side. And so I just believe that when he is released in that second 3.5, when all the, everything's just kind of no more limitations, I think he's going to become a raging, ravenous animal who is going to tear after every one of them that made a commitment for Christ. And I think it's going to be a really hard 3.5 years.
Yeah, I think so. Anything else, Tim? So, anything else regarding just all of the restraints being removed? Anything else you'd want to add? Because this is a tough time
It
in the
is.
tribulation.
It's a really hard time. It's hard to talk about.
It is.
It's hard to, I want these all to be uplifting
I know.
and, to bring hope and joy to people. But this stuff is hard.
Yeah,
And
it is.
it makes my heart sad.
That's
It
right.
makes my heart somber.
That's right. Tim, let's go now to the image of the beast. So, any ideas on the image of the beast? The beast that's given breath and the ability to speak and calls people who refuse to worship the image is killed. Let's talk about this.
Okay. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what that's going to be?
Right.
But I do have something kind of fascinating to share.
Because just in case anyone's confused, because I know there's a lot of challenging language in the chapters we looked at today. We're talking here about the statue, right? So at some point, this unholy trinity of Satan, Antichrist, and false prophet, it's demanded that a giant statue of sorts is built, and that people have to worship the statue. And the crazy thing is that John, in his vision, he says the statue seems to come to life. It's moving and talking.
And for those who refuse to worship, they will be killed by the statue.
That's right.
It's insane.
It is insane. Okay, so talk to us about this statue. is this literal? Is it symbolic? Like, what do you think's going to just talk to us?
Yeah.
Because I did not go here in the message. I didn't
Yep.
speculate at all. I just basically said, here's what the Bible says about it, and
Right.
best of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's similar to things we saw in the Old Testament
Yeah.
where kings put up, statues and
Mhm.
demanded people bow down to it.
But
and
those
worship
didn't
it.
come to life.
But they didn't come to life. I know.
Wow.
So here's what I'm just going to say. I got lots of things to say about this, and I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. There's this fascinating project that's actually considered to be a tourist attraction. Now, this thing, the first time I heard about this was in 2021, and it's a 10-foot statue. Or sorry, wow, I'm getting everything mixed up.
That's not that tall.
It's a 10-story statue that can move. Its arms can move. It can speak. But here's what's fascinating. Anyone can have their face on the statue. So if it's a tourist attraction for big cities, or who knows how many cities could end up with it. However, you go, you get scanned, and then all of a sudden your face is on the 10-story, holy cow, 10-story statue.
Wow.
Its arms can move and it can speak.
Wow.
And it can say, it'll probably say maybe famous quotes from different presidents and things like that.
Sure.
That there's a website that you can go and you can look at this thing. It's called thegiantcompany.ie.
Thegiantcompany.ie.
Yep.
Okay.
So I want everybody to understand, I am not saying that this is the statue.
Right.
I am not saying that. Please know
chances are it is not.
Exactly. But when we begin to talk about what this might look like at the end of time, and it's real, people are going to be forced to go bow to this thing. So what I understand is that this statue will have the ability to identify your face. And the minute it can identify in this, think of the technology, right? Facial technology.
We already have this technology.
We already have it.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, they'll be able to scan your face and it'll know everything about you. It'll know every file. It's everything that's been created from your usage of
from your social
habits,
print or whatever.
Where do you go to church? Do you not go to church? Where do you buy? Where do you those kinds of things. It'll have the ability to know. So it'll be able to tell you things about you that you'll go, what? Right. Not realizing necessarily that your facial recognition software just pulled every file known to man about you.
Yeah. But your point here is that if today there's already a company who's advertising this 10-story giant that they can build, and I've looked at it a little bit. It's all made of LED wall, type, material. So literally, it can look like you're in a city, and if you want one of the presidents or kings of a country to just show up, it looks like you're looking at a 10-story version of that person, and it looks real. It looks real, and it can move, just like you were saying. But your point here is not that this is what it's going to be, but man, if that's where our technology is today, and let's just say the tribulation happens 1,000 years from now, where will the technology be then, or even 30 years from now? And so it's not what I think. What you're saying is, here's John. He's never seen anything like this. They don't have the technology that we have today. And he's trying to put into words, I'm seeing a statue and it's coming to life and it's talking and it has the power to kill. This could be technology.
Yep, it could be. What's interesting is, this is just meant to be something to draw tourists into big cities. But, we see one statue and people will be told that people from other countries at that point in time aren't going to be able to travel to other countries. This thing could be in every city. That's right. It could be copied. It can be reproduced.
Yeah, the technology
just sent. And this is supposed to be for fun, and I think it will be fun. Okay. But in the end, a statue similar to this could have a fire mechanism in it when it recognizes that you are not a worshiper of Satan, nor are you going to. I could see flames coming from its mouth and destroying you on the spot. And so it's one thing to read about it in the scriptures and knowing that John wrote that 2,000 years ago. And now in our time, there are technical wonders that could do exactly what it says it's going to do. So please know, we are not saying that this is the Antichrist. What we are saying, though, is technology exists to make what we see in the scriptures happen.
Right. That's right. Or here's another option. It's just exactly what John saw. And this is just a part of the power that God gives to Satan and allows him to construct a statue in his image that literally does come to life and has all the powers. It has nothing to do with technology. It's just the power that God has given to Satan for this time.
Could be a totally demonic, supernatural abilities that make something like a stone statue come to life.
That's right.
Absolutely could.
That's right. Man, this is crazy stuff we're talking about.
It is.
This is among some of the more challenging things to read in Revelation, and even trying to put our minds around. Just like I said, John's trying to write down stuff he's seeing and has no idea what this is. He's never seen this kind of thing before.
Yep.
You
And
know?
it's even hard for us to imagine.
It is.
You know?
Yeah, we haven't seen it either.
No.
Tim, let me ask you this. Do you have any thoughts on, we talked this weekend about those who will be slain. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
All of those who will die during this period of time.
I think that it would be good for us to be praying for them in advance. Praying for them to have the strength to endure absolute hell. Praying for them to have the strength to die rather than taking a mark of the beast.
Which we should get into that in a minute. But
yep,
yes.
Yep, exactly. They're going to be mercilessly slaughtered. They're going to, we understand that Satan's going to create a mark of some sort. And unless you have the mark on the back of your right hand or your forehead, you cannot buy or sell anything. We're going to talk about that in greater detail. But think about what that means. If you can't buy or sell, you can't own a home, you can't have a car because you can't buy gas for a car, you can't buy food, where will you live? How will you survive? You can't get medical care. If you have a medical problem that exists, you can't get care because you can't pay for anything. So they really are just really putting people in a horrible box. What do you do when you're a father and a mother and you know that if you take the mark, you can feed your kids? But if you don't take the mark, you're all going to die. That's the kind of decision that they're going to have facing them on a daily basis. That's why I just think, can we pray for them in advance? Just saying, God, give them the strength to do what needs to be done. Because we're going to talk about this too in a minute, but the minute you take the mark, heaven is no longer, it is excluded from you forever. There's no more eternal life in heaven for you if you take the mark. So that's the kind of life and death survival mode. That's where they're going to be. And I just thought, if we could pray for them, and we know that some are going to make it through. Won't be everybody. And maybe God will hide some of them. I don't know how they're going to survive. My guess is they find a place in the middle of the hills that they can get in a cave somewhere and just survive and not be found. I don't know.
Right.
But the people in the cities, I don't know how they're surviving.
I don't either. It's crazy. Wow. So Tim, in the chapters we looked at this weekend. We've got the first beast coming from the sea, which is the Antichrist, and then, which we've already talked a little bit about here. The second beast, which comes from the earth, is the false prophet. Any thoughts on the false prophet?
Well, I found it interesting. He seems to have an appearance of a lamb, and I think he's going to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Nothing good is going to come from the false prophet. I think he's going to appear to be religious, but he's going to lead the whole world into worshiping the Antichrist. I suspect that the kind of worship that they're going to enact and force people will be very satanic in nature. I think there'll be sexual rituals, blood sacrifices, animal or human sacrifices. I think it will be evil to the core and may even promote people to higher levels of demon possession as they interact in these worship kinds of ceremonies. When I wrote the book After the Great Disappearance, I share that those who take the mark of the beast, they will be completely excluded from heaven. There's no hope for them. They can't, after taking the mark, say, God forgive me, God forgive me. No, it's over. It's done right there. They just sealed their eternal.
Gave eternal allegiance.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, in the book, what I talk about is the minute that you seal your eternal allegiance to Satan, my guess is they will be taken over by high levels of demonic possession and will no longer have any kind of a conscience. They have no remorse for anything they do, and I think they will have the ability to do anything and everything evil they want to do. I don't think there'll be any limits on them whatsoever. And so they're going to become like ravenous, rabid animals filled with hatred toward anything that resembles Christ or Christ followers. So not only do I think that we're going to have, there'll probably be Antichrist police that will hunt people down and kill them, but I think these that take the mark will also be turning in people right and left when they see them without marks, which means that it'll be very hard for anyone without a mark to be even seen in public.
Right. Tim, let me ask you this. Going to go off script a little bit. I get this question a lot, and when talking about Revelation, I would love your thoughts on this.
Okay.
Can someone be tricked into taking the mark of the beast during this time? I mean, is it possible that someone thinks, hey, if you want food, if you want health care, you've just got to take this mark, and they don't realize that it also means you're worshiping the beast?
Yeah, well, next week, we're going to talk about 3 angels.
Yes, we are.
One of the angels is going to fly. And do you want to go there now? I mean,
why don't you give us a little preview?
Okay, so 3 angels. One is going to fly over
Yep.
all the countries of the world, giving the gospel message from the heavenly realms.
That's right.
You're going to hear the way to salvation, the way to be saved. Okay, that's going to happen. For the moment, I forgot what the second angel is going to do, but the third angel is going to give a warning.
Yes.
Now think about this.
Yes.
This is God.
That's right.
Absolutely.
He has given chance after chance after chance.
The third angel will pronounce from the heavens to everybody on planet Earth, do not take the mark of the beast.
Do not take the mark of the beast.
Or you will not have access to heaven.
That's right.
So no one will have an excuse.
That's right.
No one.
Excellent. That's right. That's so reassuring to people, because I think we think to ourselves, well, that's just not fair. What if, someone's just trying to take care of their family and they don't realize, no. God has done his own supernatural things during this time period. And everyone, we don't know exactly what that looks like yet. Every single person alive at this point in time will understand, if you take this mark, you are giving your allegiance to Satan. You will not be allowed into heaven. There will be no one hoodwinked into taking the mark.
No one will be hoodwinked.
That's
In
right.
fact, I mean, we don't know what the 2 witnesses that everybody's going to see for 3.5 years, but I got to believe they're going to be saying it. I got to believe the 144,000 witnesses are going to be saying it. And now you got this angel that's going to fly over and in a loud voice, everybody's going to hear it. So I don't think anybody's going to have, oh, I made a mistake. I don't think so. They're going to, when they make that decision, it will absolutely be, they know I'm forfeiting all of it, all my life with God.
That's right. That's right. Wow. I think that's helpful for
Yeah.
a lot of people. Okay, let's see. So we've talked about the false prophet. How about we talk a little bit more about the mark of the beast? I know we just kind of did here, but
Yeah.
are there some more details that you'd want to give to us, or have we covered everything?
No, I think we could. I think we can go there. I think there's a lot of interesting things that maybe everyone would enjoy listening to. But the fact that no one can buy or sell without a mark is very interesting to me, because never before in history has there been a method to pull this off until the last couple decades.
Ooh, talk to us.
You know, the whole idea of a cashless society
Yeah.
is absolutely on the horizon.
We've been hearing rumblings of this for many years. It hasn't happened.
No, it hasn't happened.
But it's interesting.
Here.
Do you remember, though? I mean, this was only a few years ago now. Do you remember what happened during COVID and even the year after COVID? How many times you would drive up to a restaurant or a fast food chain and they would have signs that say, not accepting cash?
Yep, that's right. There are countries right now that are already implementing it. I think certain cities, certain locations, they are implementing this and just saying no cash anymore, and everybody has to kind of go to this digital kind of thing. But isn't it amazing? 2,000 years ago, John told us this, that it'll be a cashless society. Because when you think about it, and this is pretty amazing when you go there, when we have no cash, there won't be like, a hidden underground market, black market, I guess they call it, where you can buy things. Cash won't exist. So it'll be all digital. Now, it's coming. We're all gonna probably be using. We're using a form of digital currency in a way now,
Absolutely, we are.
just by using our cards.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But what's coming is something that's called central bank digital currency. This is where that'll be what it'll be at least that's what it's currently called. Who knows how many years before it's fully developed? I think it's coming quicker than we think. Probably if there were to be some kind of economic collapse worldwide, it would be brought on the scene almost instantaneously. But there are a lot of nations that are further along than we are in this, and a lot of countries are really working to be the first one, because there's a feeling that the first one to kind of launch digital currency that goes all over the world, they will be in control of that market. So every country, and every major country under the sun is working to try to get this in place, hoping they can get a jump on all the other countries.
Well, and we keep seeing this. I mean, there have been, even in the last 5 years, just so many different startup companies for digital currency.
Correct.
And millions of people are investing in it. And it's
that's crypto. Right. Okay, we're talking about taking a dollar bill and making it simply a digital dollar. And it's not something that, well, you may be able to invest your dollars into something, but this is absolute currency. And so, but here's what's fascinating that a lot of people don't know. Those that are working on the digital currency are working on how to make it programmable. You may go, what does that mean? Well, it means that they will have controls in place. Now, I don't think it'll be that way up front. I think they're going to want everybody jumping in on this and everybody buying in. I think they'll say, if you jump into digital currency, we'll give you 10% over and above what you have in your savings account today, or something of that nature. I think they'll also go backwards with that, saying, okay, but if you're not in by this date, you're going to lose 10%, and next month 20%, until everybody's forced into it. I think in the early stages, there won't be the programmable part of it won't be all that noticeable. But when everybody is in the digital currency system or whatever that's going to look like at the time, they will be able to decide who gets to buy what. If they don't want you, I'm overweight, okay? So if they say, guess what, we're putting you on a diet, you will not be able to purchase these items. So you'll go and take your card, lay it down to purchase grocery items, and the items that the computer system will say no, no, no. Now there's some who are trying to promote no more meat. I think that at the right, in fact, there's a scripture verse that talks about the Antichrist will want to remove meat from our diet. I don't even know where it's at. I can't remember right now, but I've read it. It's a fascinating kind of an idea. But they'll be able to say, you can buy this or you can't buy this. You can't give to that church, but you could give to this church. I believe that what I've read is they'll have the ability to keep the economy moving by saying to everyone, hey, the economy's dipping this month. You have to spend $1,000 on something. If you don't spend $1,000 on something, it's just going to be removed from you at the end of the month. So you got maybe a month to spend $1,000. Now, maybe you get to decide what you want to spend it on. Maybe you don't. Maybe they tell you got to buy this or that.
Sure.
But they will then at that point have full control of everything we do. And so
and of course, this is speculation. Let's make sure everyone understands that. This is total speculation, but when you look at what John is saying here and the vision that he's been given and the hell on earth that's going to be happening, and you pair that with just some things we're seeing in our culture today, it's not too far off to speculate on these kind of things.
It's not. And I want to be very careful to say something. It's very likely that we will make a move to digital currency sooner than later. But we may be in that system for 100 years before the Antichrist comes on the scene and corrupts the system and uses it in a way to make everybody worship him, or else you die. And so I think it's important that we understand, we're not saying that this system is going to stop us from being able to buy or sell tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now. It could. We don't know when this is going to happen. It's just that there is technology today to pull this off that 2,000 years ago, John wouldn't have even seen. And up until a couple decades ago, we hadn't even seen.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's not too hard to just, I mean, this already kind of happens, Tim. Think about it. I have an HSA card, and it's an account that I can use for prescription pills, or I can use for certain medical reasons. But if I take that card to McDonald's and they run it, it gets declined, even though I've got money in that account, because it's set up that it will not take from these vendors. It only takes from medical vendors, or right? So
yes,
that technology is already out there.
It is. It's actually being used in China. So if you go to a website that they don't want you to be on, if they see that you're spending more time looking at maybe things with Western cultural kinds of things, they literally are locking down their ability to spend. So they have these, I think it's Venezuela. I could have the country wrong. They have something called the Fatherland card. The Fatherland card is a card that you have. It has all of your bank accounts in it, as long as you do what you're told. But the minute you don't, they take your access away, and then you have to just figure out how to survive until your punishment is over. Then you can use your card again. In China, if they capture you or if they figure out that you're on sites you're not supposed to be or doing things you shouldn't be, they have a card that they take from you. And guess what? All of a sudden, you can't go buy any gas for your car. You have to take the public transportation system. They may also say, "Oh, guess what? Your card won't work um, outside of a 4-block radius from where you live." So they totally just have you in their grasp. That's what a cashless society causes: absolute full control from a government system to lock their people down and to obey, which is what the end times, the Antichrist has to have that in order to bring about what he's trying to do. So all we're saying today is the technology is here. Whether this is the technology that will be used or whether it'll be an advanced 100 years from now kind of a technology, but it's already here. It could be done. If the Antichrist wanted it done in the next 10 years, it could be done. It could probably be done in 2 years.
For sure. Tim, let me ask you this. We're running out of time. I'm curious. Can you tell us a little bit of what do you think this mark will be? What will it look like? Or will it contain the symbol 666? Like what all's going on here with this mark?
Well, again, we don't know. But here again, just sharing with you things that are happening.
Some speculation.
Right? Absolutely, things that are happening today. So if you go to, I think you could probably Google this, but Google is the one that is creating this. Just look up something called skin marks.
Skin marks. Okay.
They're tattoos that you can put on your skin. They're experimenting with it now, but they're tattoos that can be put on your skin that have all the capabilities of a credit card or a debit card.
Much like a QR code on your skin, something like that.
Yep. So you would run your mark across the scanner, and then you could buy, sell, do probably have access to medical, all the things you need. Will probably be at some point in a tattoo. Now, I'm not saying that that's the way it's going to be. Right. But again,
you're saying the technology though is already out there
is being
to make this happen.
I don't know if they have this in place yet, but they are working on it. And from what I understand, they're close. Think about that. So if there's a tattoo, then that means whatever symbol that the Antichrist would choose, it could be put in the form of a tattoo. Because what I understand, the skin marks or the tattoos can be anything you want it to be. So if the Antichrist comes and says, well, it's going to be this symbol that represents me, then that's the symbol you have to have put on your body. So that makes it even more difficult then to be able to go out in public. If you don't have the mark here or here, you have to stay indoors or possibly risk being killed or thrown in prison until you would be killed. So it's fascinating to me that there's technology available that could bring about everything we read in Revelation about how Satan will lock down, every country and force them into obedience when the only way to buy anything is through a mark. You've just locked everybody down to the nth degree. And then it'll be ugly for everyone, because at that point, you're going to have to make a decision. All right, I'm gonna.
Am I taking the mark or?
Yep, exactly.
Spending eternity
I'm
separated
gonna
from
die
God
today because I'm gonna go out in public. I have to go over there to do something, and if I get caught, I get caught.
Yeah. This is just a really good reminder, Tim, that the end of days are going to be pretty horrible when Satan is allowed to have free reign on this earth. And it's also a good reminder to say it again. I know we've said it several times, but we're just doing our best here today to speculate, right? Maybe it doesn't happen this way at all. But speculation is exactly what I said it was the very first sermon of this series, that we're just taking the revelation from God, we're taking interpretation, and we're looking at world events around us right now, the technology that's out there, and we're just saying, hey, maybe this is what it could be. So, Tim, we are just about out of time here. Any last words that you would have, my friend?
I know that there are a lot of people who really struggle with the idea of a pre-trib rapture because they feel like Christians are going to suffer. And I want to just say this: what if this digital currency comes into being? It may not be the Antichrist that figures out how to use it to persecute. It could be other, well, I think China right now is already using it. Venezuela, I believe, is already using a form of it. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How long could we be under how long could we be persecuted under a government that isn't the Antichrist yet, but we're processing our way toward that? We could be persecuted by a corrupt government that isn't the Antichrist for years before that comes into play, comes into being. But again, it goes back to this for me. 100 years ago, this didn't exist.
Exactly.
So the things we read about probably couldn't have happened, but today they can. And then you compile that with the fact that Israel wasn't a nation. It didn't exist for 2,000 years. And in 1948, it became a nation, and it has to be a nation in order for the end to come.
Any of this to happen.
So we're just looking at all of these things that are coming together in such an amazing way that line up with what John has written 2,000 years ago.
Right. We're at least getting closer and closer to what John is saying, which makes you wonder, are we getting closer to the end of days? Because I think everything that we have talked about so far, it seems like we wouldn't be too far away from these things being able to be in place.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And we're not saying it tomorrow. We're not saying that.
Right.
We're just saying it. Well, here's the thing. We know that Christ could come at any time.
Yes.
If he came tomorrow, it wouldn't take the Antichrist very long to establish everything he needs to do to accomplish what Revelation tells us he's going to do.
That's right. Well stated. Tim, this was an awesome podcast. And honestly, it was kind of fun because we really haven't had the opportunity to speculate a lot. And so it's kind of fun to do that. But you have to hold it loosely. You have to hold it very,
Absolutely.
very loosely.
I hope everybody can do that.
And everything we just said, we could be 100% wrong.
100%.
100% wrong.
Yep.
Okay. Tough stuff today. There's some incredible hope coming in the weeks and podcast ahead. We're not going to be quite there yet next week or the week after, but we're almost there. And as I've mentioned several times, I cannot wait to talk about the second coming of Christ, the millennial reign, and then, of course, what happens in the new heaven and the new earth. Yeah. Some really fun things to talk about.
It's going to be so amazing.
Got to get away from all this fury of the beast, though.
Tired of this stuff. Let's get to the good stuff.
That's right. We are almost there. Tim, thanks for being here, my friend.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your wisdom in this. Hey, friends, thank you for joining us. Hey, we hope that you would like and share this podcast. We hope that this has been a great conversation for you. Thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. Go in peace.